Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode number 7 of the Prep1 podcast.
Welcome back to the most must-see podcast in West Texas. Welcome back to the Prep1 podcast.
Okay, so explain that. What was that all about there?
A few people are gonna get that out there. I know you're not gonna get that because you're a little bit of a hater, but it's the Miz. Come on. The Miz, WWE. All right, okay, cool.
I'm the Miz, right. Isn't that a play, man? A Broadway musical or something like that?
No, that's Les Mis, and don't you talk bad about Les Mis either, all right?
Well, my boy. I mean, before we dive into it and stuff, I think there's a lot of things that we got to talk about, about the podcast in general. The biggest thing is I would like to give a big shout out and thank you to all the fans and people that have been tuning in, listening week in and week out. We've hit some milestones this week with episode number 6. We actually hit 150 subscribers, so that was a huge jump for us. And we had our first YouTube video get over 2.5k views, so that was a big one for us. And I know you and I were both talking. We're like, we woke up the next day. We're like, are you looking at this? Are you seeing this?
It was like, what happened? I was like, I thought I was still asleep, but I mean, that's great, guys. That's great. That's for us. That's awesome because you're helping us help you. That's what we've always said here. And the more people we get subscribed, the more views we get, the better it is for us, the better it is for you, the better it is for our El Paso athletes. And we're just so grateful for the success we've had with that last episode, and we hope to keep moving forward with this. And continue doing this.
It all comes down to you guys. The more you guys like the video, you subscribe to us. Even if you're not watching on YouTube and you're listening to the podcast audio recording on Spotify, Apple, Podbean, doesn't matter. Leave a 5-star rating. All of those things help the channel grow and help us get more exposure. And think about it this way. You help us get more exposure, you get more eyes on the local athletes, and in turn, hopefully that translates to offers when we highlight some of these local athletes in the El Paso borderland region. Yes. But, just like I said, go ahead, follow us. Make sure you always follow us on our Twitter account, Prep1 Podcast, Instagram at Prep1 Podcast, and our Mr. Moderator himself, Jerry. What is our TikTok?
We have our TikTok at the Prep1 Podcast. Catch us out there live on Friday nights. As a point, this past week, you may have noticed we didn't really post anything on there. The week before we didn't. That's because we mentioned it last week. We're in collaboration with Football Friday Nights, ESPN 600. So we end up while we're doing that, we're unable to really, do the
sometimes
like that.
Sometimes both of us will be on the radio. Sometimes one of us will be on and one of us will be posting footage. It kind of just varies. So, we'll do our best to keep that up each week and week out.
Yes, definitely.
But I guess we'll get ready to dive right into it. And first thing we'll do is we'll roll that intro. All right, guys, welcome back. And I guess this is about that moment in time where I kind of take a step back and I go ahead and pass it over to this Carolina Panthers fan over here.
Yes, through and through. And as you just said that, we officially just finished right now. And unfortunately, it was not good. But I still have hope. I have hope like I do every year that they'll show up to a game.
If my Cowboys can get it done with a backup quarterback, man, you guys can do anything you believe in. Okay,
we need an O-line, but that's beside the point. Anywho, it's time.
Take it over, Jerry.
It's time for some cross country. All right.
What are our local cross country athletes up to? What are they up and doing?
All right. So I'm gonna preface this, guys. Unfortunately, just like last week, there were a couple of meets I was not able to get the results. They didn't post them up. I couldn't find them anywhere. The Coronado meet I was not able to see, and the Fabens meet I was not able to get the results. But I did get the two big meets, which was the Nike South meet out in Woodlands, out there by Houston, and I did. And we will get into that right now. And I also got the Desert Twilight meet, which was out in Arizona. I misspoke last week. I apologize for that, but this meet was in Arizona, so that was more like a Southwest regional meet. The Woodlands meet was more like a Texas meet, so it's pretty interesting how our runners fared out there at these meets. Some good, some bad, but let's get right into it. So first, we have the girls' results out of the Nike South meet. We had 367 runners at this meet and 48 teams. That's how big a lot of these cross country meets get. And
Is that it?
these that's about it. Not too much. It's not 400 teams like back in over there in California. But you have a good amount of teams. What's good is that this is leading into this week of everyone's going to get a rest this week. They're going to have a bye week for all cross country because next week on the 14th, district meets start. So it's playoff time for these guys and girls, and it's crunch time now.
It's SBG time, bro.
It's SBG time. It's that time of year for them. SBG, the first one of the year. So right here, girls results. You got Haley Hill out of Bridgeland High School. She was the one that took the top spot in a 1901. At 9th place, Mia Hairston. We talked about her before from Montwood with the 1938. You have in 11th, right behind her, Cassandra Jimenez out of Montwood, 1944. Hey. So
Cassandra
you have
got
your
beat,
kind of go back a little bit behind. I've said it before. I said it again. Competing against your teammate is one of the best things you can do out there, and that's what I love about this sport. And unfortunately, down there you have Lexi Salas from Americas at 41. But she was still 41st place at 20:35, less than a minute behind Cassandra. So that shows how close all these runners were in this meet. Team-wise, you got Montwood taking the 13th spot, Pebble Hills taking 18th, Eastlake taking the 21st spot, and Americas taking the 24th spot there. Now you have the boys' results out of the Nike South. This one had 456 runners, 62 teams, so a little bit bigger. The top place out of there, you had Zaid Kayali, I believe that's how you say it, out of Friends Woods. He had a time of 15:39. Our boys didn't fare out as well as the girls did, but again, look at the time. Diego Romero out of Americas, he got a 33rd. He was 16:40, still pretty much a minute behind that first place. So he would there. It's all close there. 54, you had Aiden Hernandez, Eastlake 16:56, and then at 123, Jacob Martinez, Americas 17:24. All kind of within that range of that first place spot within a minute, 2 minutes around there. Team-wise, you had Americas taking the 21st spot, so that's great. A top 25 finish. Eastlake 38 and Montwood 43 on that one. In the Nike South Elite Division, Pebble Hills was the only school out of El Paso to compete in the Elite Division. Kevin Sanchez out of Austin's Vandegrift High School, 14:56. Omer Ibrahim, out of Pebble Hills, 33, just 30 seconds or so, 40 seconds or so behind that first place spot, but a top 25 finish. That's really big for him. That's really good. And then at 92, you have Noah Castañeda out of Pebble Hills with a 16:36, just a minute behind. Pebble Hills as a team, they took the 17th place spot out of that Nike South Elite. So that was a really good showing for them.
Yo, Jerry, before you go quickly on to that, I was going to ask you, do you know how many competed in the Elite Division? And was that Elite Division, was that an invitation only? Like, did Pebble Hills have to meet certain qualifications to run in the Elite Division?
You know what? From because I did look, I couldn't find exactly the correct numbers. That I mean, they were there, but having to count them all. But yeah, that division, it looked like it was like your top dogs out of there,
Okay.
because in the other ones it was still same classification. It wasn't like how it happened in Lubbock where
It's
you
kind of
had
like
six
open
A, five
division.
A, 4A.
Yeah.
This one was kind of like an open, here's our top guys, let's get them all together and do this. And Pebble Hills was one of those top teams
Oh,
that
cool.
was in there, so that's a great deal for them. I'm sure if Franklin had gone out there, or Eastwood, I'm sure they would have been in there too,
Cool.
for the state of Texas. But they weren't out there. Instead, they were out in Arizona, Mesa, Arizona, to be exact, for the Desert Twilight. This was the sweepstakes division, 200 runners out of this one. For the girls, Brooke Wilson out of Valor Christian took the top spot at a 16:57. Abigail Pignon took 41 out of Franklin. She ran a 19:11. Emily Orr was right behind her with the 19:11.6. Pignon had a 19:11.5. And then number 6 at 63rd, you had Adeline Rodriguez Eastwood 19:47. The teams, though, they fared way better than the individual ones. You had Franklin taking the 8th place spot out of this pretty much a Southwest regional meet, because there's teams from Colorado, Arizona. It was quite a bit of teams, So you had Franklin taking the 8th place spot, Eastwood taking 17th, and Canutillo taking the 21st spot on that one.
Yeah, team top 10 finish there. That's not
I
bad.
mean,
Not bad at all.
and that shows how Franklin is the top one. I mean, boys, here you see it again here. The sweepstakes division. You had Christian Grondick,
Growendike. Growendike.
something like Groendick,
It's
out of Fort
Growendike.
Collins. We'll move on. Fort Collins, 15:05. You had Matthew Engel out of Franklin getting the 15th place spot for 15:44. You had Diego Flores, 24th, 16:01, and you had Chris Moreno from San Eli taking a 16:06 in 31st. Now, you show how all these runners kind of came in right together, because, again, look at the times, and especially look at that 24th to 31st. It was a 5-second difference, literally. So, I mean, it just shows how close these competitions can get. Team-wise, you had Franklin taking the 7th place spot for the boys. Eastwood took the 12th. Sanelli taking the 16th place spot. I think if you take the top 20 spots, I think that's awesome. They're just doing great out there.
Yeah, and at different levels. I mean, you see 6A faring well, and you see 4A faring well. So
and I love seeing Chris Moreno out there faring up against all these 6A schools, and, really competing out there. Here for the boys, the large schools division, you had Kai Espinosa Golinsky out of Westwood High School, 16:36. You had the 25th spot by Leonardo Resendes from Bel Air High School, 17:36. Cesar Ruiz with the 59th spot out of Del Valle, 18:20. And then you had William Potter at the 63rd spot, 18:24 out of Bel Air. Bel Air was the team at this one.
If this was the large school division, what was the previous division where
Eastwood the previous one, it was the sweepstakes division. So
okay, so that was their elite one, I guess.
Yes, yeah, that was more that's what I was looking, because Franklin and Eastwood were both in that one.
Okay, yeah, that's what I saw. Franklin, Eastwood, and San Eli.
Yeah,
but then you see...
Okay, so that's cool. Why that was good for San Eli. I mean, they were in that division too, so that's what was great about that. Team-wise, Bel Air did great. They got the 14th place spot. Socorro got the 16th place spot. We haven't really heard too much about Socorro, and they are doing great towards the end of the year here. So let's see what they can do in that 6A district coming up in a couple of weeks. But Socorro taking that 16th place, and Del Valle coming in at 27. Now the girls, large schools as well, 248 runners. You had Isabella Shire out of Perry High School with 20:09. Socorro, again, I'm telling you, look out for Socorro. They're going to do some damage. 34th spot, Nadine Villasana, 22:11. You have 52nd spot, Alina Caballero from Socorro as well with the 22:44. You have the 53rd spot, Marisol Vidal Bel Air, 22:44.5. So they're right behind each other. And the 54th spot, just all three of them, all El Pasoans right there. Isabella Wolf out of Socorro High School again, 22-45. And in the teams, you got Socorro taking 6th and Ballard taking 15th. Again, Socorro is just, we've talked about them these past 2-3 weeks. They're up and coming. I think they turned it around somehow, and I mean, look for them in that 6A district.
Hey,
See
but
them.
that 6A district is tough, man. You got
It,
Franklin State top dog. You got Eastwood a state top dog. You
mm-hmm.
got the top dogs in Pebble Hills, that are
Coronado.
running well. You got
Yeah.
Coronado guys. You have Mountwood girls. Like that. This is a
Oh yeah.
tough
But
district, all through
and
and through, top to bottom.
oh yeah, it is a very very tough district, but you still have those sleepers, and I think Socorro is one of those sleepers. In the 5A division, I think Hanks is one of those sleepers. Hanks has been up and coming in this cross country. So that's what I'm saying. Watch for them to possibly pull some upsets out there and get noticed. Now our Soaring 7, like I said, guys, I was not able to get the Fabens or the Coronado, so unfortunately, if you guys have that, shoot them our way, or as soon as we get those, we will share them on our Twitter. Our Twitter is where we get the majority of our
Results.
info out there to you guys, is where we get that as soon as we go. So number 1, you have, well, you know what? Let me start this backwards here. Ryan. Okay, for our
I was
Soaring
about to
top
say,
7,
man, you better
let's start backwards here. Good reason. Number 7, you had Cassandra Jimenez out of Mountwood leading her team out there. She's been on here before. She's a force to reckon with. Watch her in the districts to win it all. You got the Pebble Hills boys specifically because they are SBG. They showed out in the elite division, led by number 5, Omer Ibrahim. He's leading those boys out there to success, and they are doing great. Mia Hairston, we've mentioned her before as well. Her and Cassandra, man, look for them to possibly be competing for those 2 top spots in district, going into regionals, going into state. That's going to be fun to watch. 2 teammates just going at it head to head. Like I said, Socorro, watch for them. They are up and coming. They're going to do some damage, especially in district. I'm calling it right now. I think they're going to, do a few upsets and open up some eyes. Number 2, you got Franklin, who should be watching out for Socorro, but Franklin is still one of your top dogs out there, always competing, always being the best at what they do. And Luis Pastor.
That's a name we hear week in and week out.
Every week, and for good reason, because, Ryan, do you know why?
I do know why. I saw it on Twitter.
Congratulations to Luis Pastor out of Coronado High School. He committed to Oklahoma State University. He's going to be a Cowboy. He's going to go out there.
Cross country programs too, man, in the country. One of the top cross country collegiate programs.
Yes,
so good for him.
It's, I mean, people talk about these Power 5 conferences in football and basketball and all that, but it's the same thing you see in high school is the same thing you see in the college ranks. People don't really see these track and field cross country teams and don't really care or whatever. But I mean, Oklahoma State is just as good as you can get. It's one of the big ones. Congrats to Luis Pastor. He busted his butt out there to do it. He SBG'd, and guess what? Boom, right there. Committed. Coronado commit to Oklahoma State Cowboys. So I mean that's just great right there. I mean, I love seeing El Paso athletes. Doesn't matter what sport, Ryan, is that they get these D1 commitments. We saw quite a bit in football this year. Hopefully we see a lot more coming in basketball and baseball and all that, but this is just great to see, and I hope there's a lot more coming.
Definitely. Big shout out. Congrats, Luis. You deserve it. You've been showing up all year for the last, your whole high school career, you've been doing well. And it just goes to show that you put in the work and it pays off. But you know what? It doesn't stop here. This is really only the beginning. These were the steps, the foundation. Now, the career really starts. Once you get to college, you got to maintain that. So like you had mentioned, Jerry, I love it. I like to give those shout outs to all the commits, and we're going to be doing that anytime we see commitments come out. We're going to try to highlight you all. But, athletes can play at every level. It's not just D1. There's D2, D3, NAIA, JUCO, multiple divisions.
one thing on to touch on that, what you said there, Ryan.
Mhm.
One thing I've always been a big proponent on, you know this, we've talked about this. We've talked about it as coaching. We talked about it when we coached our players. It doesn't matter what sport you do. College athletics is college athletics. Free
Mhm.
school is free school. It doesn't matter where you go. So I just want to kind of say out there for those of you out there, whether you're an athlete or a parent or a coach or whatever, and you think D1's the only way to go, look, there's plenty of athletes right now playing in the NFL, playing in the NBA, MLB, all of these professional athletes, no matter where they are, they started at a JUCO
Mhm.
and they got in the rec. They just needed that 1 or 2 extra years to really develop, and then they got that D1 scholarship. Then they got there. So
And
college ball is college ball. College sports are college sports. So don't, if you have that mindset of, well, if I don't go to a D1 school, then I'm a failure. No, you're not, because guess what? Not everyone gets to play college sports, and it doesn't matter if it's, like I said, a JUCO or a Division 1 or in between. It's, you still succeeded.
at the end of the day, man, it going to the pros is not even necessarily the end game. The end game is,
Yeah.
getting your school paid for and getting
Oh
that
yeah.
degree at the end of it. So,
Oh yeah.
what doesn't matter what level you go to at the end of the day, if you get that degree at the end of the road, then that's really what matters.
And that's the
But,
big thing. Yeah.
with that being said, and that prefacing this, we do want to also highlight some athletes that picked up commitments throughout the week. We're going to be trying to do a little bit better of that. So, just to
Mhm.
let you future athletes know, the best way for you to get mentioned on the show is for you to tag us when you guys get these offers or these commitments. If you tag us,
Yes,
tag the
please,
prep.
please.
If you tag either one of us with our Twitter handles, they're on our on below right now on the bottom of the screen. Or if you actually tag the podcast page at Prep1 Podcast, we can go ahead and see that, and we can go ahead and highlight you on the show. Some people we want to mention out of Chapin High School, and I'm sorry if I butcher the last name. Uh, it's David Cho or Choi or
Cody,
Co. David
Cody.
Cho uh, got his first offer from Graceland University, so big shout out to him.
There you go.
And only one, definitely probably got more to come. Season's still early. Out of Horizon High School, Derek Estrada got his first offer as well from Crown College. Okay. Moving on, familiar name that maybe some of us have heard of is Anthony Rivera, wide receiver, strong safety out of
Mhm.
Chapin High School. Picks up his fourth offer of the year from Buena Vista University. At the soccer level, okay, and this is a good one too, because we don't even have
Mm.
soccer players doing too much right now unless they're
Yeah.
playing for their club teams. But out of Jefferson High School, goalkeeper Jose
Yeah.
Guerra announced his very first offer from Warren Wilson College out of North Carolina. And again, like
Nice.
I said, still early in the year, so obviously a lot of these guys got much more offers to roll in. For the soccer guys, they haven't even started their high school
I was
season
about
yet.
to say they haven't even started their season yet, so
Mhm.
that's gonna be fun to see how many more offers these guys can get.
Yep. And all I can say too, soccer ones, have a good club season right now and keep trying to do what you can. And finally, the last one I want to mention, and everybody's heard this name out of Franklin High School, wide receiver safety, Bo Sparks,
Oh, Sparks.
recently announced his second and third offers from Lock Haven University out of Pennsylvania and Waldorf University. So he's
Oh.
picked up his his second and third offers. And again, like I tell you, if he keeps the stellar year that he's having, he's definitely going to have
Mhm.
more to come. And again, these offers may not be D1, they may not be D2, but hey, even D3, NAIA, doesn't matter. They're going to throw money out to you. And again, these are just a couple of offers. Who knows? D1s, D2s, they might start coming throughout the
Oh
year,
yeah.
depending on how they perform. So keep
Oh yeah.
keep SBG and keep showing
Yes,
up,
sir.
balling out, and getting noticed. And eventually, it's going to pay off.
Yes, sir.
Um, so now, like I said, I'm going to transition into our volleyball segment like we always do, give some notice to the ladies on the hardwood. And right now I pulled up, we got the Tuesday volleyball recap. Okay, a lot of interesting games. You could see from the very first one, you got a 5-set matchup that was between the Anthony Wildcats and the Sierra Blanca Vaqueros. I'm not even gonna lie, I didn't even know
Vaqueros.
that was Sierra Blanca's mascot, but hey,
Really?
took it to I did.
I
To be
always thought that
honest,
was awesome. They were the Vaqueros.
never even I wasn't even sure their school was still even going.
Man,
No,
if you really go through some of these high schools in Texas, you're gonna find some of the most out there, out of nowhere mascots.
that's what we should do
It's
next
pretty.
week. We should each give a list of like 3 of the most unique mascots we could find. Let's do it for next week's
My
episode.
favorite is New Braunfels. You all look it up. We'll talk about it next week.
I know it, but we'll talk about it next week because we've had this conversation.
Yes.
But hey, that's a 5-set matchup. Anthony Wildcats take that one 3-2. Laredo Angels keep doing their thing. You know, they're right there on the outside looking in. Laredo Angels all over the Tornillo Coyotes, 3-0.
Mhm.
Chapin Huskies got their brooms out as they swept the Canutillo Eagles 3-0. Going in through some bigger matchups. Oh, you had a big one here, or on paper it seemed big because you had a battle of number 1 and number 2 in districts. El Paso Tigers against the Burgess
Mhm.
Mustangs. And I had mentioned this last week. I was like, this should have been
Yeah.
a game to watch, but I've been telling you, El Paso
Echo.
Tigers have been, getting their brooms out and loaded all season long. And once again, they concluded another sweep of a district opponent.
I think they're gonna make a run in the playoffs. That's gonna be fun to watch. Those girls
Yeah,
are really
they
they're
got
really
that
putting it
benefit of
out there.
being in, District 5A, and
Mhm.
in District 5A opponents, I don't think they've had too many teams even win a set on them this year. I think
Really?
Burgess might have gotten one set on them at least once or in a previous game, but overall, I think the Tigers have swept every single set of almost every single opponent.
Wow.
Another big game. You had Jefferson Silver Foxes against the Andros Eagles. Jeff takes that one 3-1, and that was another one because that's right around that 4th playoff seed implication. So you've got Jeff, you got Chaper, you got a lot of teams that are kind of teeter
Yeah.
tottering around there. What some might have dubbed the game of the week, and we had talked about this, the
Mhm.
rubber match, Franklin Cougars and the Coronado Thunderbirds. I
Those
think it's
two?
I think it's safe to say, man, Coronado Thunderbirds have solidified themselves as the
Yes.
elite program in the El Paso area at this point. Things started off a little shaky at first during tournament time and all those types of
Mhm.
things, but it seems like they figured out everything that they needed to figure out at this point, and it's honestly just they're on a roll. I mean,
Oh,
3
yeah.
sets to 1, Franklin took them, and overall, Coronado really took care of business. And you'll see because we're going to mention someone in the Soaring 7. So overall, just great performance by the Coronado Thunderbirds. Good job. District matchup, you had the Fabians Wildcats and Mountain View Lobos, and they took a sweep. They swept the Lobos. San Elizario sweeping the Riverside Rangers, and all of these are district play going on in Class 4A. Isleta Indians sweeping the Horizon Scorpions, the Mountwood Rams, and the Americas Trailblazers. That was another
Another big one.
match we were all looking at. And again, Mountwood just has a lot of talent on their team.
Yeah.
Americas has some talent too, but they're young. So, look for them in the upcoming years to really show up. But right now, Mountwood all over them, 3-1. And the big one between the Pebble Hill Spartans and
Ooh, that was a good one.
and I told you, Eastwood's been that team that's been slowly,
Mhm.
steadily climbing up the pillars in Class 6A. There was those periods of times where they were having wins and losses to teams we weren't expecting, but now they're handling everybody. This was a close one, took it down to 5 sets, but at the end of the day, on paper, it shows Eastwood comes out with that victory. So,
And that one right there also, it was a really close game because you and I, well, we're part of a group chat where we have people at all these games and everything, and this game actually went kind of late.
oh
It
yeah, it
went kind of
went to
late, so
late, went down
that
to the
shows like
wire.
like each set was close. Each set was really, these girls were competing out there, and they went 5 sets and they took it to each other.
Yep, they definitely did. Hanks Knight showing that they're, the team to be reckoned with in the Class 5A, sweeping the Del Valle Conquistadores. And honestly, in that district, there's not too much competition for Hanks this time. They've kind of got an easy road to that first place bid, but we'll see
Yeah.
right now when we run down the standings. And another Class 5A matchup, Bel Air Highlanders and the Parkland Matadors into 3 sets. Not necessarily a battle between 1 and 2 or anything like that, but a district battle nonetheless. Bel Air getting victorious in 5 sets. Friday's results. Okay, another interesting one. Loretto Angels get another win over the Anthony Wildcats. Coronado Thunderbirds, again, they continue sweeping district opponents, 3-0 over the East Lake Falcons. Told you already, El
Yep.
Paso Tigers, all they know how to do is sweep. They've got some of the cleanest floors in the district. They've got they've got it might not have been the best one right there, but it's all I could come up with at the time. 3-0. Jefferson Silver Foxes doing their best impersonation of the El Paso Tigers, sweeping the Canutillo Eagles 3-0. Mountwood Rams all over Socorro Bulldogs 3-0. San Eli getting another district sweep back to back, so that's good for them in the standings. Bel Air again in another 5-set matchup, man. This, 2 matchups in the same week going to 5 sets. Bel Air takes this one on Horizon. And big district matchups, big district wins that they need if they're looking for those playoff seedings. Let's see. America's Trailblazers lose another one to the Franklin Cougars, 3-1. After coming off of Tuesday's 3-1 loss to Mountwood. So, that's gotta, really hit the America's Trailblazers. Hopefully they could get back this week into some winning ways. Pebble Hill Spartans rebound off that 5-match loss to the Eastwood Troopers, and they sweep the El Dorado Aztecs. Hanks, I mentioned, they're kind of the premier team in the district. Is it 5A Division 2 or is it Division 1? Sorry, but they're sweeping the Matadors 3-0. Clint all over the Riverside Rangers. Isleta over the Valle Conquistadores 3-1. Urban Rockets over the Austin Panthers, and Burgess doing what they do to solidify them as the number 2 team in District 5A. 3-0 over the Andress Eagles. All of these results helped us come up with this week's Soaring 7.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to go ahead and break this down. Number 1, we've got out of the Chapin Huskies, Diana Flores with 9 kills, 11 digs, and 1 ace in a stellar win over Canutillo. And that's a district win. So like I tell you, right now, you've got El Paso High and Burgess, number 1 and 2. And then you've got Chapin, you've got Canutillo, you got Jeff, and you got Andress, kind of all fighting there for those last spots.
This is coming down to crunch time now for volleyball. It's towards the end of the season. All these games, I mean, every game matters, but all these games right now really, really matter now. One loss could make it or break it for you getting to that 4th place spot for the playoffs.
Now going on, and again, a lot of these names are going to be familiar, but hey, we tell you each week, if you show up, we're going to notice you. And it just so happens that these girls are solidifying themselves as the top girls in the city. And, we kind of knew this coming into the season, but they've really shown that, they are the ones to be watching. Out of Hanks High School, this is like the 3rd time she's been on the list. Yasmin Ingo, 16 assists, 2 aces, 8 digs in a win over the Del Valle Conquistadores, getting it done on all sides, offensively, defensively. Good job. Shout out to her. One of our preseason top MVP players out of Coronado High School, you have Caroline Mann. She's been one that we mentioned as someone to watch this season, and she's been doing it all year long. 4 kills, 44 assists, 11 digs, 2 aces in a big district win over the Franklin Cougars. Okay, this is where Coronado finally got to insert their dominance and show they are the top dog in 6A. Caroline Mann's that captain of the team, been showing everything, and she did what she got to do. Here's one that we haven't seen, or a school that we haven't mentioned.
A new one here,
but this is and you know what? I had to do some research here because I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of confused because I saw we've seen YWA and we've seen YWLA, and I wasn't exactly sure how it works. So for those of you that aren't sure, I will explain it too, because when you see YWLA, that is the Young Women's Leadership Academy, and that is the academy for the Isleta Independent School District. YWA is the Young Women's STEAM Research Academy, and that is the academy for the El Paso Independent School District. So right here, number 4, and this is out of the Young Women's Academy, the STEAM Research Academy from EPISD, you have Addie Ontiveros, okay, member of this Warrior squad. She had 29 assists and 4 aces in a win over Austin High School, okay? This Young Women's STEAM Research Academy, man, they're doing their thing in I believe it's Class 4A, which we're going to go over the standings in a little bit. But, they're doing what they got to do, showing they're a force to be reckoned with. And Addie Ontiveros has been pretty stellar all year long, and she just showed you in a big win over Austin. Number 5, you got Eastwood's Dillian Bounds. We've mentioned her before in the past. 35 assists, 23 digs, in a big win in 5 sets over the Pebble Hill Spartans. Another familiar name also on this list last week, and she's doing it again. Burgess's Annabelle Martinez, 9 kills, 12 digs, 1 assist, and 1 ace, getting it done all over the court in a win over Andress. And finally, number 7, she's been on the list, I think, like every single week. We've got Mountwood's Kennedy Garcia, 32 assists, 7 digs, 2 wins, and a big win over Socorro, where the Mountwood Rams swept the Bulldogs. So again, this is the Prep1 podcast, Soaring 7. Shout out to all 7 of you girls, and the hard work you guys put in. You guys did it. Showed up, you balled out, and you got noticed. Moving on, we haven't really covered these types of things, but you know what? It's about time, especially in volleyball, because we got lots of district games already going on. So 4A Region 1, District 1 volleyball standings, and this is where I was telling you, you've got the Young Women's Team Research Academy, 6-1 in district, okay? And to be honest, I was kind of I didn't know that this is how the districts were, because I wasn't completely familiar. I didn't know the districts were different as opposed to, football and whatnot.
Yeah.
But for a Region 1, District 1, you have YWA, Austin in second place, Irvin in third place, but they're both with 4-2 records. So that's that Austin-Irvin matchup. That's going to be a big one. You got Bowie High School and Harmony Science Academy right now, not doing too well.
Yeah.
In 4A, Region 1, District 2, volleyball standings, you have Clint Lions at first place at 3-0. Fabens and Sanelli at 2-1. And don't forget, Sanelli just did a sweep of Fabens at Mountain View. So Sanelli might be on the come up to get that second seed. Riverside at 1-3 right now, hanging on, for dear life for that 4th playoff seed. You got Mountain View at 0-3, and then you've got the Young Women's Leadership Academy right now. They haven't played any district games. They've only had 2 matches this season, so they might, be having a hard time fielding a squad or something.
Yeah,
not really exactly sure, but we'll see if we can find out more on that. Going on in District 5A, Region 1, we talked about it all year long. The sweepers themselves, El Paso High School Tigers at 9-0, 25-6 on the season. Just showing, that they're the class of 5A Region 1, District 1. Burgess, just 2 games back, 6-2. Those 2 losses probably came to the El Paso High Tigers, and they're 16-6. Jefferson at 5-4. And like I said, it seems like right now they're the solidified at the top 3, but then check it out. For that last playoff spot, Andrews 2-6, Chapin 2-7, Canutillo 2-7. So it's
no one's officially out yet.
Yeah, no one's out of this, but that it's going to come close for that last playoff seed. And then I talked about this earlier. You have 5A District 1, 2 volleyball standings. You got Hank showing the top of the class, 4-0, 19-10 on the season. Isleta in second place, 3-0, 14-8 on the season. Then you got Del Valle 2-1, 19-5 on the season. And then it's kind of a battle of who's getting that last playoff seed. You got Bel Air, Horizon, Parkland, all down there. And I think maybe they might not be updated because I think Bel Air got some district wins, 2 of them. So we might need a Max Preps to get to updating some of these stats, but I pull off whatever I can online. Going on 6A, and this is the fun one. And then, it's took up the whole page because it's such a huge district, but obviously you've got Coronado, top dogs in the district, usually a perennial number 1 in the city, 9-0, 20-9 record. Eastwood, 8-1, 22-7 record. Mountwood right behind them, 8-2, 19-6 record. And it shows right now those are the top 3, 1, 2, and 3 district standings don't lie, and it seems like they've solidified themselves. But then you've got Franklin, Eastlake, Americas, and Pebble Hills, all 4 of them kind of still fighting for that last playoff seed. Franklin, you would assume, would be that front runner with a 26-9 record, but it's that inconsistency that's killed them. They've got the talent. They've just, unfortunately have dropped some close ones, but they've showed they can beat any of these top dogs. So,
and that's the thing, that's the unfortunate thing, if you want to say. It's not like in football where you have 2 or 3 non-district games. In volleyball and in basketball, even baseball, you can schedule more non-district games than you have district games. But what really matters is those district games to get you into the playoffs. So,
mhm.
I mean, it's happened in the past where teams have gone, practically undefeated in the non-district, and then they just completely get demolished in their district. They end the season with a winning record, but they don't make the
The
playoffs
records aren't
because
clear implications of how they
exactly,
finished.
it's just that the what really counts as district, and unfortunately, like you said, they've really been inconsistent in district play.
Yep. And going on, now we've got our Prep 1's top 10 rankings. So you
Go.
have the high school volleyball top 10 rankings. Obviously, number 1, Coronado.
Mhm.
They're not going to fall from number 1 until somebody beats them. And who knows, could be Eastwood getting ready to take them down. Eastwood at number 2, El Paso High Tigers at number 3, sweeping opponents left and right. Mount Wood Rams at number 4, Franklin Cougars at number 5, number 6, the Pebble Hill Spartans, number 7, the Burgess Mustangs, 8, the Hanks Knights, 9, the Isleta Indians, and look at this coming in at
Whoa,
number
here we
10.
go.
Number 10, and you know what? Well-deserved, ladies. Number 10,
Yeah.
the Young Women's STEAM Preparatory Academy. Sorry, yeah. I was trying to remember what each letter stands for. So, yeah, I'm gonna just call it the Young Women's Academy since they usually go by just
Yes.
YWA, but it's the YWA Warriors. Okay, and they made it into our top 10. On the outside looking in, you got the Clinton Lions, Irvin Rockets, Loretto Angels, and the Emmanuel Christian Warriors. But again, I like that, and it's a little refreshing, man, to see
Yeah.
some new blood in that top 10, and hopefully shows that they can be a force to be reckoned with. Going into next week's schedule, man, lots of games, lots of district games, playoff implication games, if you will.
Yes.
So, going on, America's Trailblazers against the East Lake Falcons. This is one that America's has to win. Like I said, they're trailing the Franklin Cougars by that one, so these district matches are going to be a big one for them. El Paso High Tigers against Canatee Eagles. That's another.
You think they're gonna take their brooms there again, Ryan?
I think they packed them already, man. They packed their brooms. I can't see Canateo taking this one, but like I mentioned, Caneteo's gotta get that win if they want to get up. Jefferson and Burgess, that's a good one because you got Jefferson in third and Burgess in second right now, and Burgess, who knows, maybe they can make a late climb to get that second playoff seed and flip flop them. Pebble Hills Spartans, Coronado Thunderbirds, another big one because Pebble Hills is fighting for that fourth playoff seed, but the road is going to go through Coronado, so it ain't going to be easy there.
No.
District matchup here, Austin Panthers and the Harmony Science Academy. And again, this is one that I'm not used to saying is a district matchup because I forget that the districts change when it comes to volleyball.
Yeah.
Sunelli and Fabens, I mentioned this earlier. Sunelli's been sweeping teams. Sunelli gets this win over Fabens. That puts them at number 2, so big one there. Franklin Coronado is going to have Franklin Cougars is going to be facing Socorro Bulldogs. Quite frankly, should be an easy test for the Franklin Cougars and should help them try to keep that, 4th seed and pat that standing a little bit for them. Going on, let me see. Oh, down there you got the Hanks Knights and the Isleta Indians. Battle between number 1 and 2 in that district, 5A district. That's going to be a good one right there.
Fun one to watch, yeah.
Along with Del Valle and Bel Air, that could be another one for who's getting that 3rd, 4th playoff seed. So big matchups there. Chapin and Andress, that's a big one because we mentioned the 4th seed in District 148 158. It has not been solidified. Everybody's even right now, so this is a big one. Somebody on this team is going to make that run for that last playoff seed, and that could be right there. Going into our Friday volleyball schedule, I'm going to call it right now, another sweep for the El Paso Tigers. I'm thinking Chapin Huskies. That would be a big game against Jeff. If they can somehow pull off a win, that not only will bring Jeff down a little bit, but will help Chapin booster their championship. But check this out right here. Got the Coronado Thunderbirds against the Eastwood Troopers, number 1 and 2 in District 6A. and number 1 and 2 on the Prep1's ranking. So that's going to be definitely a game of the week. Going on again, America's Trailblazers against Pebble Hill Spartans. One of those are two teams battling for that last playoff seed. So that's going to be a big one. You know what's going to help them in that one? If Mountwood can get it done over the Franklin Cougars. If Mountwood gets that win over the Franklin Cougars, that'll keep the Cougars from moving up on their rankings and hopefully give America's or Pebble Hills a chance to gain on them.
Yep.
Other than that, that kind of highlights the big matchups, top games to watch. You've got Hanks at Isleta Tuesday at 6:30. Like I said, battle of number 1 and 2 in District 5A. Burgess at Jefferson. I mentioned that too because, you got number 2 and number 3 going at it. Coronado Eastwood, probably going to be, the game of the week for sure overall. And then you got Mountwood Franklin because, like I mentioned, Franklin needs to get that win to try to help their playoff chances. Mountwood is trying to solidify that they're one of the top dogs. So big 6A matchups to watch, and it's going to be a fun one when it comes to volleyball. So, not even gonna lie, I'm gonna need water off the level, man.
I was about to say, no, I mean, it's gonna be fun to watch, Ryan. All these volleyball teams. It's like I said earlier, it's coming down to the wire now. Every game is important. I mean, with the exception of perhaps Coronado and El Paso High. It's not really, they're not really too worried. They pretty much got their spot in the playoffs. But a lot of these other teams, like you mentioned, like in that District 4A, you have those 3 bottom teams fighting for that 4th place spot. So it's going to be fun to watch all these teams really, come down these last few weeks, really see who really shows up and really wants to, put that last ditch effort to get them across that finish line.
Definitely. And the funny thing too is I'm free this week on Tuesday. So I may be able to go, if things work out right, we might be able to go watch a volleyball game and see some of these ladies in action.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
We'll talk. Yeah. We'll talk and see. We'll pick a game and we'll announce it on our
Twitter page and Instagram page. And we got a choker on this one, guys. No, it happens. Like I said, we're recording this as live as possible, so every once in a while you get some water, something goes down the wrong pipe. But you're live there, Jerry, right? We're good. Nope, he's not good. But you know what? We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start with the football recap, okay? And just like we had mentioned before we go into the different games, Jerry and myself were actually working with ESPN 600 Football Friday nights this weekend, so we both were at separate venues. I was out at Fabens High School to see the Fabens Wildcats take on the Sun Elizario Eagles. So I'll go ahead and just kind of give a quick recap on that game first. And then once Jerry, are you better? You good now?
I'm good now. I'm back. Sorry about that.
Just kind of back with the plan, back with the vengeance.
Yes, I got excited about talking about volleyball, going to a game and all that, and I guess it just kind of got to me.
No,
but
we're all good here.
I'm good.
I'm gonna go ahead and
live, everyone.
I'm gonna go ahead and break on the Fabens Sanelli game, and then we can go ahead and touch up on your Cathedral Bowie game, and then we'll go through the list. So not a whole lot to say about this game. I think the trend that we saw, though, over the entire Friday night was the battle of teams having an injured running back. That was it seemed to be the common theme. I know right off the top of my head, I could take Coronado Thunderbird starting running back Little was out with an injury. Hank starting running back Xavier Johnson out for the year with an injury. El Paso High starting running back Lorenzi Johnson out for the year with an injury. Fabian starting running back out with this game with an injury. And if you looked on paper, he was about 90% of their offense, a workhorse. Wow, so that immediately took a lot of the game. And it's funny because San Elizario, they run that triple option attack, wishbone. So a lot of running. But surprisingly, what got both these teams on the board first was a passing game by both teams. Which is kind of shocking because, neither team really stuck to what they did in the first quarter. Both teams led with 24-yard touchdown pass and an 82-yard touchdown pass, respectively, from both teams as they, took one against each other. But after that 7-7 tie, the rest of the game was all San Elizario Eagles. They went back to their ground and pound attack. They had like 16 running backs not 16, but they had definitely a running back by committee. They had like 5 running backs that each, had like over 45 yards. And they just really just wore down this Fabian's Wildcats offense. And a lot of it, defense.
I'm sorry, was this San Eli's first win of the year also?
I think they were actually 1-4. I believe.
So they had 1-1 before. Okay,
yes.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if this was the first or like second.
It was 1-4 and 2-2. 1-4 and 2-2. But the thing is like I said, San Eli just to kind of wore down the Fabian's Wildcats defense, and then, well, Fabian's had no answer without their running back that made Fabian's essentially one-dimensional because they completely abandoned their run game, went nothing but pass, and you could tell passing is not something that they do very often. They didn't have a lot of creativity, and they just really could not get it done. They did score one final touchdown in mop-up time at the very end of the game, which really didn't mean too much at that point. And at the end of the day, it was really all San Elizario Eagles, 27-15 in this one. What about you? How are things out there in Bowie?
Beatty Cement Stadium. I just
made it up to the top of the stadium, right? You made it up.
You will not believe. I got to work out there. Trust me. But it's a beautiful stadium. One of the, what is it? Like the second or third oldest school in El Paso. Beautiful stadium. My grandfather actually graduated from there, so there's some Bowie family bloodline there. But me, we already know I'm from Cathedral, so not gonna lie.
Homer
hurt a little bit, but this game, man, the best way to explain it is I believe the Bowie coaches, when they went in on Monday and talked to their players, or on Saturday, they went up to that board on that whiteboard and they wrote down, all right, here's our game plan for the week, fellas. Ground and pound. Just to put in perspective, Bowie threw the ball all of how many times do you think they threw the ball there, Ryan?
Are they still running that wing T offense?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say 3 times.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll give you credit. No, they threw 6 times.
That's actually more than I would have thought.
They completed it 4 times, and the 6 times that they threw it is because they needed to get themselves out of a little, trouble. It was like 3rd and long, 2nd and long, something like that,
Yeah, Bowie's one of those teams though. It's like they don't throw the ball often, but usually every time that they do, the defense has fallen asleep on the run game, and usually it's for a wide open touchdown pass because nobody's paying attention.
You are taking it right off the page right here, Ryan, because right here I have actually the numbers of said passes. The very first pass they threw on the night. Okay, this was the first pass they threw. I believe it was like towards the end of the first quarter, might have been the second quarter. It was a 35-yard bomb to get them into scoring position.
There you go.
4 plays later, they score. The next time they throw, it's a 15-yard pass. Then I believe it was an incomplete pass, and then the next time they throw is a 7-yard pass, and then the incomplete, and then the very last pass that they threw of the game was a 33-yard pass again to get them into scoring position. So I mean, Bowie, they just I mean, it's just crazy because you said it perfect. You lull them to sleep, and the story of the night for me was their 2 leading offensive players, both of them sophomores. Both running backs, both sophomores. You had Joe Rodriguez. He had 24 carries on the night for 162 yards, 1 touchdown. And then you had sophomore Abraham Carrasco with 18 carries on the night, 103 yards, 2 touchdowns. So I wanted to give a shout out to those guys because, Bowie hasn't had the best year here, but I mean, they had a big night, a big game. They, got the Brock. They ran it down their throats. It was all Bowie in this one, unfortunately. Cathedral really never got going. Bowie got the ball first, took it all the way down inside the 5. They fumbled. Cathedral gets it. You think Cathedral's going to do something. They go 3 and out. Bowie gets the ball back, score right away. Kickoff to Cathedral. Cathedral goes 3 and out again. So Bowie's defense really, stepped it up because the following drive, Bowie fumbled again inside the 5. Cathedral gets it, and then 3 and out again. So Bowie's defense was really holding their own on this one, was really taking it to the Irish. And, those 13 points were in, towards, one was like late second quarter, and the last one was in the fourth quarter by
in that
Jose
mop-up time.
Herrera, another sophomore. He had the biggest run of the night, 53-yard run touchdown towards the end of the game there. But Bowie, I mean, they were just, pounding the ball. They were just defensively just taking it to Cathedral. Bowie just dominated this game, both sides of the ball all night. 35-13 is the ending. Bowie probably could have put some more points on the board, but they were running ground and pound team, so it's just a running game all night. So that clock was just ticking the whole time, and they were just going. Another shout out to their senior Gael Valera, the quarterback. He had 2 TDs. Both of them were QB sneaks. After those 2 big bombs, he was the one to finish off that drive and take it in. So shout out to the Bowie Bears. They really stepped it up. They get a rest this week, so they got a bye. Next week they start their district play. Cathedral now, hopefully they can turn it around, go up to I believe Chaparral is who they're playing next, and really take it to her. We're going to get into that right now, but this game, honestly, it was just the night of the Bears. That's all it was.
Cool. All right, man. Now let's go real quickly. Let's run down through the rest of the scores and let's talk about any highlight stories that we might mention. First game up there, you had Austin Panthers, Dumas Demons. I think we both predicted this one. Dumas was going to have too much firepower for them, and pretty much it was exactly how we said, 47-0. Not much going on there, but it also really was not anything more than what we were going to be expecting from that
Dumas
game.
was one of those top teams in the state too, correct? Yeah, top 10, I believe. Something like that.
Now you're looking up to this one, man. This might have been a shocker to some. Franklin Cougars and the Mountwood Rams. Mountwood Rams going for 2, I believe, at the end of the game, getting the 2-point conversion. Oh, actually, I don't think they were going for 2. I think what I heard correctly was it was one of those fire situations, bad snap. And
okay. I thought they went for 2.
No, okay. They worked the fire drill, and it worked, man. And 43-42 Rams over the Franklin Cougars.
And we had talked about that, right? And I had said, I was like, I didn't think it was going to be but I also didn't think it would be this close. I thought the Franklin would have at least gotten like a 2-3 touchdown win. But
this was one of those, and I had mentioned it, and I had said I didn't want to give a clear winner immediately. I did say Franklin Cougars, but I said Franklin Cougars are going to win this, and it's going to be a close, high-scoring affair. And it was a close, high-scoring affair, but it just didn't go that way. It was the Mountwood Rams that, took that one, and good shout-out to them. Some of them are in our Soaring 7, but you had guys, Isaiah Claudio, Diego Oaxaca, all of them, just really doing what they needed to do offensively. Shout out to them. East Lake Falcons, I believe you dubbed this, or who dubbed it, the quickest game in America?
Yeah, it was fast. It was that matinee game at 4, and I believe the thing about I work out there in that district, so the thing about it is you always have those matinee games at 4, and you want the second game to start at 7:30 on Friday night, and it never does. You always have that game kicking off at 8:30. I think the worst one I ever saw, I think I saw Socorro kicking off like at almost 9:30 one time. It just gets ridiculous with that matinee game. This game, however, unfortunately, it was one of the fastest games. It was kicked off at 4. I think they were done by like 6:30. And the second game, they actually kicked off early. Instead of kicking off at 7, I think they kicked off like at 7:15 or something. Both teams were already warmed up, ready. They're like, "Well, we're here. Let's go. We don't need to wait till 7:30."
Right.
So yeah.
I mean, and again, score what we expected. No surprises there. Tornillo Coyotes, Alpine Bucks, exactly what we expected there. This was the big one people were talking about, the Riverside Rangers and the Bushland Falcons. I'm a Riverside alumni, so I went with the Rangers, but I did preface this by saying Bushland is not a team to be taken lightly. They're the number 7 team in Class 3A for a reason, and I would feel pretty confident to say that Bushland would be able to take on most 4A and 5A teams
Yeah.
probably in our city. You looked at some of the highlights and stuff. They had some big boys, and they got things done offensively. At the half, it wasn't a bad game. It was 14-28.
I was about to say, yeah, they held their own a little bit. Riverside did in
Yeah,
the first half,
yeah, it was 14-28, but it just, coming out in that second half, a home game for Bushland, they, really opened it up, and, they took it to them. But I think this is going to be one of those games, a lot like when South Lake Carroll played Eastwood in the beginning of the year. I think these are those teams that you want to schedule because, they make you better come playoffs. It's going to, it's tough competition
Yes.
type you're going to see
You
late
know
in
who
the
you're gonna
playoffs.
see. Yes, that type that you play against these teams that are every year in, year out. Like we mentioned it before with Eastwood. It really helps these El Paso schools because we're out here. I mean, the best way to say it, we're out here on our own little island when it comes to, playing high school sports. And when we get into those playoffs, unfortunately, we're only used to what we're seeing here in the city. So it's good for these non-district to schedule these guys, go travel out there. I think it's great if they come here, but I think it's best if you go out there because guess what? When it comes playoff time, you're not going to be playing here. You're going to be playing
Yeah.
at Midland. You're going to be playing in
Yeah,
Dallas. You're going to be
you're
playing
going to
in
be
San
playing
Antonio.
in hostile environments, in
Exactly.
uncomfortable territory. So,
Against great teams. So,
tough, tough loss by the Riverside Rangers, but a lot of respect out to Gary Ricoder and them scheduling a tough opponent, and it's only going to get them prepped for playoffs. So, shout out to them. Horizon Scorpions, they're having a tough year, and it's not going to get any easier in district play. Del Valle Conquistadores all over 62-0. We called that one as well.
Yeah.
Parkland Matadors all over the Isleta Indians. Isleta's not doing too well.
Struggling.
Undefeated. Bel Air Highlanders remain undefeated, taking on the Hanks Knights. Again, remember, this is a slightly depleted Hanks Knights without their star running back, Xavier Johnson, who does, take a lot out of their offense. But, Bel Air took advantage of what they needed to.
Yeah, and
they took it to them.
We touched on that also. Bel Air, they can continue going undefeated, but they don't really have really easy opponents moving forward. And Hanks, without the running back, yeah, I mean they lose a lot there, but they're not a rollover team either. So Bel Air's really showing what they got this year.
Yeah, and it's gonna come down to can Bel Air handle Parkland and can the Bel Air handle Del Valle? Those are going to be the two tests for them. Eastwood Troopers against the Coronado Thunderbirds. I don't know if you were listening in on the radio or anything to this, but I heard bits and pieces. Can you kind of recap what was going on here? Because I heard some crazy.
So Coronado jumped out on Eastwood pretty quick. I believe it was the first quarter. Coronado was already 14-0. They were beating Eastwood. Eastwood was just struggling in that first half. I want to say going into halftime, I want to say it was 21-14 Eastwood, I believe. I may be wrong.
Hodges playing, or did he get hurt? Or
I'm not too sure on that one. I think he did play. I think it was just honestly, I think it was just an off game for the Troopers, but they scored 49 unanswered points to win this one. They just after those 14 points scored by Coronado, they just Eastwood just kind of started rolling little by little.
Traditionally, Eastwood's known to get it done through the air, but running back Mancia is the one that actually kind of took things into his own hands and carried the team via a rushing attack in that second half, which we'll talk about a little bit in the next couple slides. So I don't want to get too far ahead.
Yeah.
Chapin Huskies. Who would have thought at this point in the year we would be saying that Chapin Huskies get their first win of the season? But they do. Chapin Huskies get a 61-0 win. And I believe this is also led by freshman starting quarterback. I think he was running back converted to quarterback. I think it's Davion Singleton. Had a game. He had rushing touchdown, a passing touchdown. Managed the game, did what he didn't do more than he needed to do, and the Chapin Huskies came out on top.
One thing real quick, Ryan, with Chapin, just like I mentioned with volleyball before, those you can be awesome in non-district and then complete it. It's also the other way around. And Chapin, who knows? I mean, Chapin's had a rough year. They got a tough district ahead of them, but let's see. We'll see what they do.
Maybe they didn't do so. They didn't do so well in the pre-district rounds, but who knows? Once district comes up right now, they might get things together. A lot of injuries in their district is going to really be plaguing some of these teams. So, anybody can go in this playoff race. Perfect example right here. Irvin Rockets against the El Paso Tigers in a battle of 4A and 5A, but unfortunately, El Paso Tigers, man, the injury bug has really hit them. Starting quarterback Jerry Chidas out. Starting running back, transfer running back, Lorenzi Johnson out, both seniors. So you really got to feel for those kids, man. They were stellar athletes and probably about 90% of that offense. And now you're, trying to bring in a sophomore quarterback, plugging in holes at running back, trying to put someone. It's just one of those where, at some schools where you don't have the high numbers like you do, like in 6A, next man up is a little harder to do than, I know everyone likes to preach, next man up, but at some of these schools, next man up might be your freshman running back or something, you know what I mean?
So and then also at these schools, you play Ironman football. So it's not literally, next man up is, okay, we got 4 running backs and that's all they do. No, like you said, next man up could be your freshman and he's also your linebacker. It's kind of tough, it's really
one
tough.
Of those. And Irvin Rockets were led by a sophomore running back too, which we'll get to in a little bit later. But they did what they got to do. They had been having a hard season themselves, but Irvin came out on top, 43-20. And in another huge 6A matchup, Pebble Hills Spartans against the America's Trailblazers. Maybe it's just something out in the water at the SEC. I don't know, man. But
something happened this week. I don't know. Something
Thursday and Friday, but
might be that everyone's excited for their intercession. I don't know. Something was going on.
Exactly. But you know what? Patrick Melton had his boys ready, and he got a good game plan against Pebble Hill Spartans defensively. They did what they had to do to, bring them down. I did hear there was some bad calls and stuff by refs and things like that, but I never use that as an excuse.
No.
Whatever that happens is part of the game.
Yeah.
But Mark Moore had a game for the America's Trailblazers, did what he got to do, and they came up on top and they beat the number 1 team in the city 23-21.
And congratulations to America's and Montwood. I take nothing away from them. Watch for them, to be in those top 4 spot, running for those top 4 spot. But I still think that number 1 and number 2 spot's going to come down to Pebbles and Franklin. I think that's going to be to watch those 2 teams. I think when it comes down to the end of the year,
it's one of those things where consistency and who is hot at the right time is going to matter most. Because, like I said, in Class 6A, pretty much, and you can see it right here: Franklin, Mountwood, Eastwood, Pebble Hills, America's Trailblazers, and probably Eastlake. I'll throw them in that mix there.
Yeah,
I feel like those 6 teams on any given day, depending on whatever. Could split wins against each other. It really just kind of depends how it's going. Which team's going to be on the roll at the right time? Which one's hot? Which one's, going on all cylinders? So good week 6 recap. Like I said, not a whole lot of games. And you know what? This coming week is not going to be any better with a lot of teams in having their bye weeks and whatnot. But going on, we've got our Prep 1 footballs, a Soaring 7. I'll let you go ahead and take the first one and we'll go back and forth.
All right. So number 1, you got Parkland running back Isaiah Beasley, had 25 carries, 222 yards, 2 TDs, and a 2-point conversion in a win over Isleta. Big win over Isleta. That's what we talked about right now. Parkland, this kid, he's going to be leading them. So, really look for them right now in district going forward. They started off slow this year. We talked about it. They started off a little slow, and I think this is one of their key guys that's going to really lead them to the promised land.
And number 2, out of Mountwood High School, you got quarterback Isaac Galvan, 37 of 52 for 460 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns in that big win over the Franklin Cougars. And I don't know if it was Bo Bagley or Paul McKinnon, but one of them had mentioned that, El Paso's only seen, I think, like 2 or 3 500-yard passers ever, like in their time.
Oh, wow.
And, quarterback Isaac Galvan was almost there. He was right there. I think they talked about an Eastwood quarterback that almost did it too. I think he had like 496. And so, showing right there, one of the best passing performances by a quarterback, in recent history. So great job. And, not only did the numbers speak for themselves, but it led to a win.
Oh, yeah. Number 3, America's QB Mark Moore, 10 for 17, 145 yards, 1 TD, 24 carries for 136 yards, 2 TDs in a big win over Pebble Hills, leading his team for that huge upset no one really saw coming. I mean, America's, they've always been one of those, along with Montwood, those sleeper teams, so, it's going to be interesting. You already mentioned it, those top 6 teams is going to be fun to see going down, ending off this district play these next 4 or 5 weeks. It's going to be real fun.
Definitely. And, it goes to show you too, in some of these big wins, you go as far as your quarterback takes you. I mean,
yeah.
both those big wins were, led through great quarterback play from both teams. Another great quarterback is number 4 on our list, Del Valle's quarterback, Jesse Ramos, who I believe only played about a half in that game.
Yeah, they took up their starters pretty early.
Yeah, but in a half, he still managed 12 for 19, 244 yards through the air, and 4 touchdowns in a win over Horizon.
I mean, that's huge right there. Number 5, Bel Air, you got running back Zach Martinez, 42 carries, 196 yards, 2 TDs in a win over Hanks. Just like the Bel Air Highlanders, this kid is just rolling week in, week out.
Consistent, man. Consistent.
Consistencies. I mean, we've always said that consistency is key in any sport, and especially in football. And right now, Bel Air, they're really getting to the grind of their district play.
The nitty-gritty now, man. Now they got to be able to put some wins up against quality opponents. Because
yes, you mentioned that you got Parkland, you got Del Valle waiting there. So I think those are going to be fun games to watch. I think Bel Air has more to them than people are taking from them. And I do mean it, saying it like that, taking from them, because they got to give Bel Air credit. They're winning, but they're winning big. They're winning against these opponents that aren't really rollover teams, and I think those games against Del Valle and Parkland are going to be a lot closer than people think.
Yeah, I think so too, man. I don't want to say I'm jumping on the Bel Air bandwagon just yet or anything, but I do feel like they're clicking. They've got great quarterback play, a good running back. They've got an awesome receiver. Offensively, they've got what it takes to compete. Defensively is where I'm concerned. I hope they can really find ways to put it together, because, against the depleted Hanks team right now, they still let them get like 20-something points on them. And, not Coronado, Del Valle and Parkland are not slouches on offense. So.
Whatsoever. Yep.
Yeah. Number 6 on the list, and I mentioned it earlier, he was the one that kind of helped them in this win in the second half. Eastwood's running back, Max Mencia, you don't normally hear Eastwood being a heavy run team. And this is only on 10 carries, mind you. 10 carries, 135 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a win over Coronado. So you want to talk about efficiency. There you go, man. I mean, you're looking at almost every 3 carries, he's taking one to the house for a touchdown. So, great win. Good job by the little running back Max Mencia. Shout out to Eastwood in that win over Coronado. And I'll let you finish it off here.
And shout out to Irvin with Giovanni Soto, a sophomore, with 23 carries, 177 yards, 1 TD, 4 tackles, and a win over El Paso. You got, like I said earlier, we were talking about the next man up, and they play Ironman football outside of those 5A, 6A districts. And that's a perfect example right there. Irvin, this guy right here, he's running back. He's also, most likely their linebacker, just putting it on them, getting noticed on both sides of the ball. And that, for those of you that don't know, that's what Ironman football is. You play both sides of the ball. Sometimes and then again, also in these schools, we've seen it before, Ryan. We've used to coach it. You're not just playing both sides of the ball. You're also on that special teams. You'll never get out of that game.
You got special teams. You got, sometimes they're the water boy. Sometimes they're the trainer.
I know. It's just,
sometimes they're the assistant coach.
I've coached teams. I've honestly coached teams. It's crazy, Ryan. I've honestly coached teams where there's kids that literally they'll be on the field the whole time. The only time they come off is during timeouts or in between quarters. And it's just crazy. Some of these, people don't give credit to some of these athletes in these lower divisions or lower classifications just because they're lower classifications. But these guys, they SBG for sure. SBG
Show
all over
out,
that
ball
field.
out, and get noticed. Going on, so a little something different that we don't normally do. We gonna highlight some of the leading stat people in El Paso, and I'll go ahead and take the passers. You go ahead and take the rushers. So
Got it.
right now, out of El Paso, the leading passers, and it kind of doesn't strike us by surprise. This kid mentioned he had a 460-yard performance. And keep this in mind: this is in only 5 games of play. You got Isaac Galvan. 1,650 yards on the season, completing 74% of his passes, 16 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, quarterback rating of 132. Out of Hanks High School, and obviously you're probably going to see them passing the ball even more without running back Xavier Johnson. So look for these numbers to go up more. You got Marcus Porras, 1,421 yards through the air, completing 57% of his passes, 12 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. Does need to fix that interception ratio, but he's doing his thing through the air. And I mentioned this earlier. Bel Air, they've got some athletes, man. And you're going to see them on all the leading stats here. Noah Moreno, quarterback, 1,364 yards, completing 62% of his passes, 12 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. And those are your top 3 leading quarterbacks in the city at the moment.
And your leading rushers in the city at the moment. And again, you could see based off these schools here, these are dual threat players. You got a running back, defensive back, you got a running back outside linebacker, and another running back outside linebacker. So these guys don't get that rest in between series there. They're constantly out there. So you got Isaiah Beasley. We mentioned him before quite a bit, out of Parkland High School. He's almost at that 1,000-yard mark already. He's at 956 on the year, averaging 150, almost 160 yards per game, 159.3. Okay, he's averaging about 6 yards a carry. His longest, he had a 74-yard run. He's got 6 TDs, 6 games, so scoring every single game. Really look for him to really pat those stats up moving forward. Again, you mentioned it, Ryan. Bel Air's got those athletes. Zach Martinez out of Bel Air, 929, also almost 1,000-yard rusher. 15 TDs on the year already, man. This kid is balling out. Longest run, he's got a 53-yard run, 7 yards a carry, 6 games played. So again, Bel Air moving forward, they're going to have it tough, but they got the athletes to really hold their own. Gilbert Gamboa out of Mountain View. It's a school you don't really hear too much, unfortunately, about, but he's got 798 yards, 7 TDs on the season. His longest is 50 yards, 5 games played. So look for this kid to continue. All 3 of these kids to really put up those stats, possibly get over 1,000, and that's always big.
Yeah, and I like that because, that's not one of those teams that you were expecting to see on the list. Mountain View, you don't hear too much or anything, but it shows, like he's doing what he's got to do to compete with the best of them. You like that, 4A, 5A, you don't see any 6A names on there in the leading rushers. Going on, I'll go ahead and take on the leading receivers.
Got it.
Common theme here, man. Common theme here. You've got leading passer, leading rusher, and a leading receiver, all from Bel Air High School. This time you got number 1, Christopher Davis. 799 receiving yards. He has averaging 133 yards per game receiving. Longest catch of the year has been 81 yards, and he has 7 touchdowns in 6 games. Another player right here receiving some offers like we mentioned before. Bo Sparks, 717 yards receiving, averaging 119 yards per game, and to go with 12 touchdowns. And then finally, you've got Diego Oaxaca, 636 yards, kind of just following the same footsteps of his brother, who was another stellar receiver. 636 yards, 127 yards per game averaging. 66 yards, 66 long for the year, and 9 touchdowns for Diego. So those are our 3 leading receivers.
And we still got about 5 weeks left in the season, Ryan. So we still got a lot of numbers we can still put up there by the end of the season before playoff time. So that's really exciting. Your leading tacklers. Yeah, you got Hector Hinojos out of East Lake High School. He has 88 on the season. He's averaging about 14 a game. He's got 49 assisted. He's got 1 tackle for loss, 3.5 sacks on the year, all in 6 games. Kid is all over the field defensively. He just, I mean, outside linebacker, that's one of those positions, especially in 6A. We see a lot of passing out there, so that's really big right there. Josh De La Rosa out of Americas, you got 68 tackles, 11 a game, 46 solo, 22 assisted, 6 tackle for loss. So that's big for a middle linebacker. You know, he's getting through that offensive line, and he's really showing his own. 2 sacks, you know, goes on right there, you know, with those 6 tackles for loss. Yeah, that's really big for a middle linebacker. Abel Gallardo Perez out of Canutillo High School, 66 tackles, 13 a game, 16 solo, 50 assisted, but he's got 3 tackle for losses and a sack on the year in 5 games played. So he's a real team player, if you want to say. You know, no matter where the ball's at, he's getting there.
Yeah, and that's only 5 games played, man. So, you know, with 1 more game played, he might be able to pass Josh right there.
Oh, yeah.
Going on now, we don't have all of our districts in district play yet. We have only 2 districts right now. Everybody else will be starting district play this week or next week, pending buys. In 5A Region 1, District 1, or you have Del Valle at number 1 with 1-0 record, 5-1 on the year. Parkland at number 2, 1-0 in district, 4-2 on the year, and Bel Air at number 3. But keep in mind that this is all you know, first district matchup. You know, things are obviously going to change. Bel Air 1-0, 6-0 overall, and Hanks, Horizon, Isleta rounding out the bottom of that district, 0-1, 0-1, Isleta 0-2. Going on. Oh, sorry, I went a little too fast there. Surprise. In Class 6A Region 1, again, such a huge district that these guys have already been in district play for several weeks now, 4 weeks, I think it is. You have the East Lake Falcons right now at a perfect 4-0, 5-1 in district play, but you know they still have to play the big dogs in district 6A.
Franklin there, yep.
Yeah, they still got, you know, some tough games to play. Pebble Hills at 3-1, suffering their first loss this past week at 5-1 overall. Franklin 3-1, 4-2 overall. Mountwood at number 4, 2-1, 2-3 overall. Eastwood 2-1, 3-2 overall, and America's 2-2, 2-4 overall. So if you're looking at this right now, you know, I'm sorry, and I can go on, but you got El Dorado, Socorro, and Coronado all over at the moment. And kind of what we were expecting, to be quite honest with you. You know, we didn't really think that any of those 3 schools maybe had a fighting chance for playoff seeding. At the moment, you know, you've got Pebble Hills, you've got Franklin up there at the number 1 and 2. I want to say that Eastlake is still up there in contention for a playoff spot. The only thing is that Eastwood hasn't really, Eastlake has not played some of those bigger teams yet right now. So I don't know exactly where they're going to fall. Everything else though, you got that last playoff seed, and you know, you got Mountwood, Eastwood, Americas all at 2-1 or 2-2 going to be battling for that. So this is going to be a fun matchup to watch in the upcoming weeks, man. It's going to be neck and neck, and I think we're not going to know playoff seedings until the district is literally over. I wouldn't be surprised if it's one of those years where we have co-district champions.
Coin toss, right?
Yep.
They're still doing the coin toss, right? Yeah. So I was about to say I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, for that 3rd and 4th place spot, or even just that 4th place spot, you're gonna have 3 teams, and you're gonna have to do a coin toss for that.
Okay, going on. We got our top 10 power rankings, and again, we probably are gonna receive some hate, but you know, you gotta win to stay in. You gotta win to stay in. Close losses, they're going to bring you down a little bit. And, those big wins, upset wins, good job. If you can keep the consistent wins coming, that's how you're going to move up those rankings. Eastlake has not lost in district play, they didn't lose this time. So they move up the rankings to number 1. Pebble Hills suffered their first loss of the season in a close one to America, so they're going to be dropped. Eastwood wins. They play against Franklin. They're at number 3. Del Valle, a huge win over Horizon. They're at number 4. Bel Air stays undefeated. Can't really knock them off. Franklin loses that close one to Mountwood, so they drop down the rankings as well. Coming into the rankings, America's and Mountwood, they did what they got to do, and they got it done against Pebble Hills. They got it done against Franklin, but now can they do it consistently? Was this one of those they just had a good game, or are they going to be able to continue this around and move up the rankings for the next couple of weeks? Parkland stays at number 9, and Riverside, losing to a 3A number 7 team, drops down the rankings to number 10. I think Riverside's going to slowly move back up as they get things going again, but it's just one of those, you get a blowout loss. It happens, but I think definitely, they'll bounce back and they'll probably continue to move up those rankings throughout. Canutillo Eagles on the outside looking in, Mountain View Lobos, and the Anthony Wildcats also on the outside looking in. Now it's time for our week 7 schedule, and this is pretty much the last segment of the show. We'll go through it real quickly and give our predictions. Mountwood Rams, Eastlake Falcons. I'm going to go ahead and let's just alternate on who says it first. So I'm going to go first on this one. Mountwood Rams, Eastlake Falcons. I'm going to say Mountwood Rams are going to continue rolling from that win from last week. They got the momentum. And again, I mentioned I don't feel like Eastlake's really taken on anybody of a really good strength yet. And I think too much offensive firepower. Mountwood's going to take this one.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna go with Eastlake. I'm gonna go with the number 1 team right now in the district in the rankings. Eastlake, Mountwood is rolling right now, but I also think Eastlake is too, and I think Eastlake's gonna turn some heads.
Okay.
So next one, you got Coronado El Dorado. That's the matinee game on Friday. So that's gonna be another battle of unbeatens in district right there. Beatins, if you want to say.
I was about to say, wait, what?
They have not won a game yet. So I'm going to say, I think Coronado will take this one. Colorado, they got a lot of firepower there. I think this will be one of those close matchups, but I think Coronado will take this one.
All right. This is, to me, it's one of those flip a coin games of the week. And just for the sake of going against you, I'm going to go El Dorado Aztecs, and I'm going to go with the Estrada brothers in this one for no other real reason other than I think on paper they're pretty evenly matched, so I'm going to just pick the opposite. Next game, you got Clint Lions against the Fort Stockton Panthers. Fort Stockton Panthers have kind of owned El Paso teams this year, really shown that they're a pretty tough team, and I don't see any reason why they won't continue. I think it's going to be Fort Stockton over the Clint Lions.
I agree. I think it's Fort Stockton or Clint. Clint, honestly, is not the same Clint Lions we've seen in recent years. So I think Fort Stockton will continue their what's the word I'm looking for? Their conquest over El Paso schools, unfortunately. Next, you got Compass Academy Charter against Tornillo Coyotes. Toss up here, but I'm probably going to go with Compass on this one because I'm just sorry, Tornillo, they've just been struggling and they just don't show any signs of improvement, unfortunately.
All right, I'm going to go opposite of you on this one because I think I had been hearing somewhere that Odessa Compass Academy was having a trouble even fielding a full team. I heard numbers were hitting them really bad at their school. So last I heard they had like maybe 15 players on the team. And if that is the case, then I am going to say Tornillo Coyotes in this one, if the game's even played, because I had heard that they were considering canceling their season.
You know what? I did not hear that about Compass.
Kind of changes. I mean, you need to learn things like I do, man. I do my research. Yeah. I looked up thoroughly each one of these teams, so I would know every single detail about it.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna. I'll
Yeah,
just
no
say I'm
backsies,
gonna
no
stand by
backsies,
what I
no
said.
backsies.
I'm gonna stand by what I said.
Yeah, no backsies.
Um. Okay.
Going on, Anthony Wildcats against the Cristobal Cougars, and this is a district matchup.
Mhm.
Historically, Anthony hasn't done too well when it comes to district play, but Anthony's been doing good pre-district. They've
Mhm.
kind of been on a roll, and I'm hoping that this is the year they get things going on the right foot. So I'm gonna say Anthony Wildcats win this one against Cristobal.
I'll agree. I'm gonna say Anthony. I liked what I saw when I went and saw them against Cathedral. It wasn't their best game, but they still did pretty good. So yeah, I think Anthony does have some secret offensive weapons out there that people don't really know about.
I'm glad you get to do the next one, so you can be the one to piss people off. Go.
Oh, okay. Americas and Eastwood. This is gonna be a good one. Americas, like I said, is one of those sleeper teams. Eastwood is supposed to be one of those dominant teams, but the key thing is consistency, and neither one of these teams really have that. So you know what? I'm go on how you said Montwood and Eastlake there. I'm gonna say Americas. I say Americas will continue, riding this high of, taking it to Pebble Hills, and I think it'll be another close one, and they'll take it to Eastwood.
I could agree. I
Yeah.
I oh damn man. I can I plead the fifth in this one? No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna go Eastwood Troopers.
All right.
I I oh man.
It's getting tough. It's really getting tough to make some
This
of these
one is
predictions because it's
really
yeah,
hard to pick, man. I can't it's hard.
yeah.
Um okay, Austin Panthers, San Elizario Eagles. I'll do this one. Austin Panthers all day, every day.
Yes. Yeah, Austin, they too dominant. They're just gonna run the ball all over San Eli. So it's gonna be Austin Panthers. Next one, you got Hanks versus Horizon going out there in Horizon. Horizon, sorry, they just can't get anything going this year. I'm gonna go with Hanks, even though Hanks is a little depleted. I think they're still a pretty decent team.
Oh,
So I go with
definitely.
Hanks.
Definitely Hanks is gonna run over Horizon. They don't got enough to take them on. Yeah, Hanks all day. Fabian's Wildcats, Mountain View Lobos. Fabian's Wildcats, I saw them. If they still don't have their running back, things are going to be tough for them. Mountain View
Mhm.
Lobos are, doing well. DJ Check's got them coached well. Quarterback play is good. Receivers good. You got Hansel out there catching balls. You got good running back, number 3 in the El Paso right now as far as rushing goes.
Mhm.
Mountain View Lobos all over the Fabian's Wildcats. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Lobos as well. I mean, you said it perfectly right there. They're just rolling right now, trying to get into that top 10 of ours. So I'm gonna go with Mountain View. Next one, you got Parkland del Valle. This is gonna be a one, possibly a battle of number 1, number 2 for that district title. So, I'm Parkland's been very inconsistent this year. They got some weapons, but they haven't really shown out this year. So I'm gonna go with Del Valle in this one.
All right. Again, I don't think it's going to be close at all, to be honest with you. I
Yeah.
feel like Parkland has done what they needed to do against teams that they should beat, but I don't think they've done what they needed to do against teams that are good. I'm going to say
Mhm.
Del Valle Conquistadores on this one, and I think it's going to be a pretty easily won game.
All right.
Isleta Indians versus the Bel Air Highlanders. You've got, um, let's see, Bel Air Highlanders. I think just gonna go all over them. To be honest with you, I think it's gonna
Mhm.
be a easy matchup. Highlanders are gonna take it. You got Chris Davis, you've got Zach Martinez, you've got Noah Moreno, and Isleta's got no defense. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you want to tell you? I think it's gonna be a slaughter. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
and I think
Uh,
Bel Air is gonna roll to 7-0. 7-0,
yeah.
right?
Yes. Yeah. 7. I believe so. I believe 7-0. Undefeated. Doesn't matter. Undefeated. 6-0, 7-0, undefeated. I think Bel Air is going to continue it. Just everything you said there, and unfortunately, Isleta didn't think since their first game of the season. So I think Bel Air is just going to continue rolling. just kind of using these as little tune-up games before they get into those big guys. Riverside Irvin. Irvin had a win last week, that good and stuff, but they've been struggling all year. Riverside coming off a huge loss to Bushland. Riverside's going to be hungry and wanting to redeem themselves in a sense, if you want to say. So I think Riverside's going to win this one big.
I think Riverside's coming out hungry, man. They're pissed off from that loss against Bushland, and they're going to let out frustrations. And unfortunately, Irvin is going to be the ones on the end of that frustration. Riverside Rangers 100, and Irvin, I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. No, but yeah, Riverside Rangers
100, Irvin. Okay.
Now in this game, this is going to actually be this week. I'm going to be on the air for ESPN's Football Friday Nights. We'll be covering the Burgess Mustangs, Canutillo Eagles, and Jerry will be out with the Prep1 podcast, getting all of your best footage, TikToks, everything that you need to see. This is the game that we will be at: Burgess Mustangs, Canutillo Eagles. I'm gonna say Canutillo Eagles. No chance, Burgess Mustangs. They just don't got what it takes.
Yeah, yeah. I Canutillo Eagles here as well. I mean, they have too many weapons. Burgess inconsistent all year. They've had their moments, but Canutillo. You got Chapin Jeff on this one. This is gonna be a good one. Chapin hasn't really done too much this year. They get Chaparral. Jefferson has been up and down a little bit, but they've been taking it to some of these big dogs, So I think Jefferson's gonna get a win over the Chapin Huskies on this one. I think Jefferson's the better team this year.
I couldn't disagree with you, man. I think Chapin's got the first win against Chaparral last week, but they are still, with a freshman quarterback, and Jefferson, I think, has been the more consistent team, played the better competition, and I think Jefferson's going to take this one, I think, against Chapin. El Paso Tigers against the Andress Eagles, and God, you got to feel for the Tigers, but with such a depleted offense, I cannot see them get anything going. Andress Eagles over the El Paso Tigers.
Yeah, I think with those injuries El Paso's got, Andress is just gonna be an easier game for Andress, unfortunately. If El Paso I still had those the quarterback, the running back, they did not have those injuries, I think El Paso probably would be taking this one. But unfortunately, without those guys, it's one thing to lose one guy, but it's another to lose one. And I think I'm just going to take that one.
Definitely. I mean, go on. You're next. I forgot.
No, go ahead.
No, you're doing the next game. I got.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, and then moving forward, Cathedral Fighting Irish go up north to Chaparral, take on the Lobos. Funny thing, Ryan, one thing I learned on Friday, Chaparral has been struggling. You want to know when their last win was?
Versus Cathedral.
It was versus Cathedral back in 2019, 2018, something like that. So it's been a couple of years since they won a game. So let's see what happened here. Cathedral's kind of been one thing Cathedral has done consistently this year is the win, then they lose, then they win, then they lose, then they win, then they lose. They lost last week, so I think they'll stay consistent. Win this week, had a bad taste after Bowie, so I think Cathedral will take this one.
Okay, not much to say here. Chaparral is no good. Cathedral Fighting Irish are going to take this one. I'm sorry, but they haven't shown me anything all year. No reason for me to believe that I should go get with them right now. Cathedral Fighting Irish going to take this one. Socorro Bulldogs, last matchup against the Pebble Hill Spartans, and I'm so sorry, Bulldogs, that you got to go against a pissed off Pebble Hill Spartan team.
Very pissed off.
Pebble Hills are going to come out. They're going to just unleash fury on the Bulldogs because they are upset over that win, and they're going to make a statement on this one to show that they deserve to be back up there. All Pebble Hill Spartans all over the Bulldogs.
I believe that too. All Pebble Hills, not much to say there.
All righty. And let's see. I think that's the last game. Yeah. Okay. So that pretty much about wraps up everything that we had to cover. I mean, it's probably our longest episode, but like I said, we had a lot of different things to cover. And, next week, you're not gonna have as much cross country and stuff going on, so may not be as long of an episode. So we are gonna talk about some athletes that are doing well at the collegiate level, former athletes here. Talk about any athletes that are getting commitments or getting offers from schools. So something to look forward to in the next episode. Again, thank you everybody that gave us those 2,500 views on YouTube and the 100 subscribers, and hopefully we continue on strong with that as well. Any last closing statements, Jerry?
Just good luck to all these teams. Just keep SBG out there, keep showing up, keep balling out, keep getting noticed. It's coming down to the wire for country volleyball. We're in the last home stretch. It's going to be a lot of fun next week.
All right, guys. Thank you very much, and tune in next week for the next episode of the Prep1 podcast.
Bye.